Welcome to Coffee Chat with Lisa. Coffee Chats are spontaneous podcast episodes you will find in your podcast player anytime I have time-sensitive information or just want to share what's going on in real time with Organized 365. These podcasts will disappear as soon as the information is out of date. So grab a hot cup of coffee and listen in to find out what's new. We see you, we hear you, we listened, and we are going to deliver. So when I first created the Friday Workboxes, I had a separate homeschool workbox and teacher workbox. And what we heard from those individual workboxes that we had 8 at one point, was that we needed more and more and more individualization. And I literally made a list of 56 more workboxes we were going to create a year and a half ago. And then I took a step back and we really looked at the workboxes and we realized, you know what? No, there are just two. There's the business workbox and there's the education workbox. And we funneled 6 different workboxes into the business workbox, which just left teachers and homeschoolers for the new education workbox. And then we launched the education workbox. And I was like, this is great. This is great for teachers, preschool, elementary, high school, college, professors, administrators, people who work anywhere inside of the school system. And we created that product to really meet anyone in the education industry. And then those of you in the homeschool community started asking me questions like, is this going to work for homeschoolers? And so I got, again, locked into that individualization. Like, does the education workbox specifically tell a homeschooling family how to homeschool or address all of their individual homeschool needs? And the answer is no. But also, it doesn't address all the individual needs of administrators or high school math teachers or preschool Head Start teachers. Like, it doesn't for any individual group. But when homeschool families were asking me, I was like, no, because I didn't have exactly the wording in the workbook that would match your unique experience. And that is what we so often do. When we create something and someone says, is there something in there for me? We tend to look at what we have not exactly put in there instead of the bigger, broader inclusiveness of these education and business workboxes. There are no two business workboxes that are the same. No two. Like, people in corporate use the business workbox, entrepreneurs use it, people who work inside entrepreneurial organizations, solopreneurs, direct sellers, freelancers, side hustlers, all kinds of people use the business workbox. It works great. The same thing is true for the education workbox. However, I do know that there is a big difference when you are a homeschool family and when you are a teacher family. And the biggest difference between a homeschool family and a teacher family is the difference between an entrepreneur and someone that's in corporate America or direct sales. And here's the difference. When you are in a direct sales company like Tupperware, or you work for a corporation like Target, the product that you're selling and the contracts and the systems of the company are determined by Target and Tupperware. And you just plug yourself and your mission into their bigger mission. But if you're an entrepreneur or a freelancer, you have to figure out what you're selling and do all your own contracts. Like, literally, you have to do everything. The same is true in the education workbox for a teacher in a public school system versus a homeschooling family. A teacher in a public school system is assigned a certain grade in a certain area of the world with certain outcomes that they need to achieve for their position. A homeschooling family can travel the entire year while they're homeschooling, and they can jump grades or they can deep dive and do history all year, 1 year if they want to. And they have a lot more freedom in what they do and how they do it. And so I, as an entrepreneur, often feel like when I find things for small businesses, does that fit for me or doesn't it fit for me? Same as when I was homeschooling Abby. I totally did not follow any normal homeschooling, if there is such a thing, curriculum. I just created all of my stuff on my own. So I was like, how can that entrepreneurially spirited education person, homeschool person, plug into the education workbox? Hello, we still have all the administrative tasks. The education workbox is for all of the administration related tasks that are not lesson planning and doing the actual teaching. It's everything else. And homeschool families have everything else also. Maybe less, but sometimes more. You still have a team that helps you do that homeschooling. You still are the teacher to your students. So there are things that you need to do in the education workbox. So I threw this back to Monique's team. Monique was off with her family in Hawaii. And I said, Steph and Sherry, can you guys help me map out what the different colored slash pockets would be for a homeschool family? And they're like, oh yeah, my daughter homeschools and I've homeschooled. And like they already, Tanya, she's like, I've homeschooled. Like they also were homeschooling families. I didn't even know it. So yes, homeschoolers, of course, you are part of the Education Workbox. And I needed to see it in black and white. And so we have added an extra sheet inside of the new Education Workbox, a printable just for you, of some examples of how you would adapt the colors in the Education Workbox for your homeschool experience. Now, let's be clear. Every single person who uses the Education Workbox is going to have different labels for all of the different slash buckets they have because they work in a different building. They have a different set of administrative responsibilities. They have a different subset of the population that they're educating. But as a homeschooler, the one thing that is similar in all of these boxes, we are all educating. And so yes, homeschoolers, you are part of the Education Workbox. I'm so sorry that it took me a couple of weeks in order to get that absolute clarity around that. I have had some homeschooling families reach out to me, and I would love to hear how you're using the Education Workbox. Come on as a Wednesday podcast guest, so more of us can hear how you are adapting this specifically for your family as well. And absolutely, homeschool families, we would love to have you in teacher camp this summer because you, too, are teachers.